All right. Welcome to the Big Ticket Life, where my guests are doing business and life on their terms. They break the rules. They've been through the ups and downs, the highs and lows. They've been through the struggle, and they've reached the top. But they've done so because they've got a life focused on success for themselves and for those around them. They do life and business on their terms, their way, unapologetically. They are focused on success for themselves and those around them. And we celebrate that success here because we live the big ticket life. If you're going to live a big ticket life and do business in life on your terms, you got to do big things. It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today. And so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it. The things that make your life successful, so you do life and business on your terms. All right. Well, welcome Steve Schabacker to the show. Steve, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. So happy to be here.
Yeah. Happy to have you here. So Steve has been a part of over a dozen startups spanning many different industries. He's an expert in many areas of security, including cyber, electronics, physical security, as well as security planning. He's co-authored 2 best-selling books on cybersecurity. He's the host of his own podcast, the Tactical Entrepreneur Podcast, which I very much enjoy listening to, subscribe to. You should do the same. He also owns Sheepdog Firearms. I'm proud to say I'm a customer of his. He's got 2 locations in Illinois, in Indiana, and like myself, he loves giving back to his local community and helping others succeed in business. Steve, man, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the show. And I guess we're kind of back to business because you just came back from this amazing family and anniversary trip.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's as we all know, it's very important. It's really what you're about is doing business in life your way. And if we are taking and a slave to our business and can't get away and can't use our business to create the lifestyle that we want, what's the point? If I wanted to be a slave to somebody, I can do that and just get a 9-to-5 job and not live life on my terms. So for me, it was real important to be able to, get away and take some time. We were celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary. So we took,
awesome.
Took about 5 days and actually surprised my wife by bringing our kids along. She thought it was just the 2 of us coming, and we have 3 grown children. So we're just hitting that empty nest. They're 20, 22 and 25. So I flew them down and she got off the plane, and that took some coordination. I'm not good at all at lying. So lying to my wife is even harder because she knows me so well. But we managed to pull it off and surprise her. And then we stayed for another 5 days and listened to some country music at Luke Bryan's Crash My Playa. So just had a great time, and I'm refreshed and I'm ready just to take 2022 by storm.
Yeah, that's just an awesome trip. I mean, so first of all, congratulations. Obviously, you've got, the whole conversation of work-life balance is an interesting one. Maybe we can touch on it, but you've obviously got the balance of being successful in work and being successful as a family man, a husband, a father, leader, because 25 years, congratulations. I mean, truly, that's just awesome to hear.
Thank you very much.
So what were the kids? What were their thoughts on it? Because I'm really big right now in my personal life with bringing the family in, bringing my boys in. For me, my family name, in a way, kind of stops on my watch. There's a lot of cousins, but I'm not so sure those cousins are going to carry on our family name. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. So I'm looking at it like, for me, family is really big for me right now. So for your kids, like, just what was the proposition? Like, was it as easy as, hey, I want to fly you to Mexico? I have that right? You went to Cabo?
Oh yeah. So no, we went to Isla Mujeres for 5 days with the kids.
Okay, I'm
It's an
sorry.
island off the coast of Cancun, and then just on the mainland in Cancun with the
Okay,
wife and I for
Cancun.
the music fest.
Yeah. So was it just as easy as, hey, I want to fly you down here, or
Yeah,
or
pretty much it was. So we found one interesting thing when our kids were younger. So that when they were in their teens, and I wish I had figured this out years ago, was that we made a decision one year and said, hey, instead of doing these big crazy Christmas presents of things that you're not going to remember in a year, why don't we let's take a family trip? We're going to take everybody, and then my parents actually came with too, and we went on a family cruise. And then we still did some stuff for Christmas, but on a smaller scale. And boy, the kids loved it. So ever since then, I've really been focused, even with them and with myself and in my marriage, about experiences rather than things. We at that time we took it. Even to this day, we can look back and say, "Hey, guys, 7 years ago, what did I get you for Christmas?" And I could offer them thousands of dollars to name it, and they wouldn't be able to figure it out. But I can say that ask about the year that we went on that family cruise, and they were just like, wow. They would remember every little detail. They would remember what they had for dinner. They would remember the names of some of the staff there and stuff, and the things that we did and where we stopped. So for me, I wish I had done that shift earlier. Is experiences over things. And then that just extended to now. I literally asked the kids. I got the idea, and I said, "Hey, you guys want to come join us for our 25th? Because we're a pretty tight knit family. We see our kids a lot. We all live literally within 5 minutes of each other. So my son was actually just got a full time job a few months ago as a police officer, and was able to buy our old family home, and we had just built a new home, kind of our empty nesting home that's 5 minutes away. So they bought that, and then my oldest daughter lives three houses down from where we used to, and so we're real tight. So yeah, it was just a
that's
matter of
very
asking
cool.
him and making sure they could all get off, because he was in a new job. My oldest daughter works for me, so she could get the time off easy, but he was able to, thankfully, and then my youngest was also able to get time off, and then it was just as easy a matter of just, hey, how do I coordinate everything, and so that our flight, so we don't see each other in the airport, and so that that they're able to maintain the surprise. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's very neat. That's very cool. You got to do that, and I love how you are tight knit. Let's dig into the work life balance thing, because there's a lot of perspectives on that, right? About always striving to seek that balance. For me, I kind of subscribe to that work hard, play hard time frame. Communicate with family like, hey, here's what's coming up. Here's the reasons why the intensity is getting dialed up. Here's what it will mean long term. Here's what we're going to do prior to that, and here's how we're going to celebrate afterwards. Right? Like, that's kind of our communication flow in our house. Um, do you think there's such a thing as work life balance? Do you think that's a fool's journey, or do you think it's something to really focus on?
I don't know that I would call it balance, but I think you got it right. It's more like a flow. I would just call it work life flow.
Hmm.
Um, because if you communicate the things that are going on to your spouse and your kids, your relationship's going to be just that much better for it. And here's the other thing: is it all comes down to your why. Your business. Why are you doing it? How is it going to change the world, and what's it going to do for your family? And if you're all focused on that, and especially as a spouse, if you guys are united in that why, then the ebbs and flows of the tide and how things go. It's like my wife knows. We just went through some crazy amount of traveling. We were just gone, her and I, for after we got back from Mexico. A couple days later, we left, and we actually went to a leadership conference together. And then after that, now I'm home for a couple days, and then I'm off to Apex. So, but it's just for a time, and she knows the rest of the month there's going to be no travel, and I'll have shorter days and I'll have longer days. But as I communicate those things to her, and she knows why we're doing them, there's no issue, and we're that much tighter because of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like how we kind of fell into that work life flow thing. I hope people listening catch on to that, because the balance thing. I mean, it's a different way of saying work life balance, but I think people so often over chase that perfect balance, right? Like, kind of getting the seesaw to always look like this, not this, not this, right? Like, they're always trying this perfect balance, and it's really taxing on the mind for some people. to go down that road. So yeah, I mean, again, kudos. I think you're doing a great job. 25 years. I'll say it again. Congratulations to you and your wife. And you had to do a lot of balance with this house build, right? Because you built a house in COVID.
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole COVID thing. So my wife is a nurse practitioner, so she's definitely seen the brunch, the good, the bad, the truth, the deception, everything that's went on with the whole flow of COVID. And we kind of didn't miss a beat. We actually ended up getting really lucky with our timing. We actually signed our contract just before everything kind of went crazy as far as price. However, it was still a long journey. It was really from the time we got our plans drawn up to the time we moved in, it was well over a year. And it was definitely challenging. The challenging part for our builder seems to be a good, solid guy and followed through and did what he said he was going to do. However, most of the trades didn't. I mean, we're still chasing people to fix things, like just because they did 95% of the job and then the other 5%. And just like, I've had a great education. I'm like, I know what not to do, but man, it's just crazy how poorly run a lot of businesses are today, and how I don't know if it's just a lack of attention to detail or whatever, but it's some of the things were just downright frustrating. We're happy to be in now. We love our new home, but like the frustrations were just unbelievable.
Was it? Yeah, I mean, we have a lot. We each have a lot of connections. I believe it was you. One of those frustrations was something with a shower head or a faucet.
Oh yeah,
I saw something come through my Facebook feed about just that last little bit.
Yeah,
and it goes into how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Like you said, they do 95% of the job, but that last 5% is what counts.
Yeah, and it was little details. It was like if I was for example, if I was a plumber, a couple of the things were one was, so in our house we did a lot of gray tones kind of and whatnot. So we decided to go with black door hardware and black plumbing fixtures. Well, uh, in our guest bathroom, the plumbing, the shower head was black, the adjustment was black, but they put in a chrome drain and overflow on the tub.
Mhm.
And it's like, the little things like, okay, you realize you're there, and this was months and months ago that these got installed. You realize there's a problem. Don't wait for the homeowner to move in months later to fix it. Take
Right.
some responsibility. And then their attitude, he was actually here trying to hear about it. And I said, hey, why didn't someone just say anything and raise the flag? I said, well, we install what parts we're giving, and that's our job. We're giving, and that's our job. I'm like, what a crappy attitude of like, just taking care of people. I'm like, you knew someone's going to say something. It looks just hideous. I mean,
Right.
it's not like I'm not going to notice it, and then the same thing. Another one was we have 3 bathrooms in the house, and one of them, the rest of them, they changed the toilet handle. The one they didn't. So one is chrome, and the other ones are black. It just little details like that were just probably the most frustrating for me, because having worked in the trades before, knowing that I would not let someone do that. I wouldn't let that fly in my house. I wouldn't do that to someone else. I would say something. Stuff happens, and even just like some things got damaged here and there. Like we did my kids call it a whale wash, but it was a moan shower with like body sprays and this head and that head, and it just kind of it's basically a human car wash.
Yeah.
And when they installed some of the ceiling tile, a piece of the a chunk of the hose, as well as one of the hand sprays, got a big gouge taken out of it, where like I almost cut myself when I picked it up. It's like nobody said anything until I brought it up. It's just stuff like that. Those were the biggest frustrations for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really the lesson for anybody watching, listening, is how you finish matters. You can do everything right, but the last detail, like in my retail business, I shared this on the last week's episode. I'll share it on this one. Like, I remind my team all the time, we are in somebody's personal bedroom. Like, think about your family and friends. You're obviously tight with your family, but I'm pretty sure it's safe to say you don't like gather in your bedroom as a family when your kids come over, right? Like it's you and your wife's personal space. So that extra care is so utterly important for the customer experience. And I think so many people get to that point. Like, I think in society today, I know one of David Goggins' quotes or mantras is always push for the finish, something along the lines of always push for the finish line further. Don't know where it is. Just keep running through it, right? Well, today it's like if you get in eyesight of the finish line, well, that's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's good enough, Johnny. That's good enough, Susie. That's what we're teaching in school. That's what's being allowed to happen in the workplace, and folks like you and I mean, really, it's and anybody listening who's of the same mind, like the world is our oyster when everyone else has that mindset, right? Because they're there at the 95-yard line and we're just steamrolling through to the goal line. So I think how you finish is so utterly important. It really, really matters. In your case, you built a nice house and you were left wanting a little bit. So it really does matter. Shifting.
Here's the key, Jeff. From the entrepreneurial standpoint, people don't realize that you can do an awesome job 95% of the way, and you screw up that last 5%, and that is what people are going to matter. That 5% is either going to cause you to have exponential growth, or is going to cause you to fail. And I think entrepreneurs, business owners, don't think about that often. The accountability to make sure that experience is great all the way through can make all the difference. And honestly, I look at it as a fantastic opportunity, because the more people continue to slack in that manner, the more I'm just going to excel. The better it is for people like you and I.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at the 95-5 number, it's really the 80-20 principle kind of taken to the next step, right? Because when you start breaking down 80-20, you really land at 96-4. And so many businesses live in the 80% good enough rule. The next layer live in that 96% rule. And then the next layer, really, if you're executing in that 4% space, you're just rocking and rolling. I like to think of that last step. Yeah, it's in the fit, it's in the finish, it's in the details, but then it's also in how you make that customer feel in rewarding them for doing business for you. So thanking them with gratitude. For us, we're sending gifts in the mail, thank you cards. We're asking for referrals. We're asking for reviews. We're making sure that we've done a good job to get those reviews and referrals, which that just perpetuates the business. So like when you say it just takes it to the next level, that's where I'm working. What are you doing in your business? And that kind of like that final 5 yards, 5% of things where everybody else is pulled off the gas.
Well, for us, it's interesting. So in our industry, in the firearms industry, it's one of those industries that are very resistive to change, very old school. We have many of our competition nearby. Some don't even use computers. Everything's still just done on paper. They're handing out duplicate receipts on writing out on paper. I didn't even know they still made those, but someone must.
I've got a local shop that does that.
But they're still using that, and they're not embracing technology. So for us, it starts from the beginning to the end. The beginning changes with the experience of trying to be different, completely turning the industry on end of how our shops are set up and how customers are treated when they walk in, and that just extends through to the end. So, and even after the sale. So our big 5% differentiator is when we deliver a firearm to a person, when they come in to pick it up, we will ask them hey, are you familiar with how this works? Do you know how this breaks down? Do you know how to clean this? Do you know what maintenance is required? And if they don't, we'll take the time to go aside with them and say, hey, well, here's how you take it apart. Here's the kind of lubrication we recommend. And then even past the 100% finish line, anything we sell, we always help them support. While we're not the manufacturer and we don't warranty it, we will try to facilitate that process as much as we can. And with firearms, there a lot of the failures and stuff are pretty much the same. So if something that we can fix in-house with our gunsmith without having to send it off, we'll do that because we make sure we're carrying manufacturers that are going to stand behind us in that matter. And if they don't get sold in our shop very, very long, because in the end of the day, we're supporting our customers. We're making sure that they're going to come back and buy the next gun and the next gun. Just like it's a little different. Your industry, one of your industries, the mattress. They have a limited lifespan. It may be 5, 7, 10 years, whatever. But people will buy another one. They're not buying one forever. So they'll either remember or forget you, or they'll either remember that they need to go back to you, or they'll remember they need to go somewhere else. Same thing with the firearms industry. No, most customers don't buy just one gun. In theory, they could, but most times they'll either come in every few years and change them out, or we'll have ones that are addicted, like many of us, and then it's just a hey, what am I buying this week or this month, as opposed to need. And it's need is long out the window now. It's collection or fun or whatever.
Right. My wife often says, well, when does the gun buying stop? And I say, well, when they stop making them fun. I mean, that's just what there is to it. I mean, there's just so many, and if you're listening or watching and you've never fired a gun, or guns aren't your thing, that's okay. I think Steve and I are going to give you a lot of good stuff to take away, but just on this little tangent, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun things about firearms when done safely, when done appropriately. That is just a lot of fun. I take my boys with me; they enjoy it. My wife even goes with her firearm that she has, but they are a lot of fun. But you said something that really rang, that I really got down with, and that was when something breaks, Steve and his team and Sheepdog Firearms, you fix it, because the customer did business with you, with your team. And in my industry, what ends up happening is we still have some of the old school duplicate stuff, like not embracing the modern shopping process, modern experience. But some people like to take both sides of the coin. Buy local, you're buying from me. I'm a local business. I have the better service, the better answers. But when it's a problem, that's manufacturer X's warranty. You have to go through them. Like, to me, taking both sides of that coin is not the right way to go. In my business, if somebody has a problem, we're going to take care of it immediately, on up to replacing it, loaning something, if need be. We've done things like that. But I mean, we've even just said, all right, we're going to give you what you paid in credit for our store. And we go do the battle in the background long after the customer's been satisfied. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't with the manufacturer, but with our customer, we always win. So I love that you're doing that. Is there any one big example you could share that was kind of really painful for you, but paid off with the customer?
There's not really one big one. There's just a whole bunch of
Right.
little ones. We've had similar situations where someone will say they bought an AR-15 and they come in and it's having issues, and there's an issue with the bolt carrier group. Well, I'm just going to hand them another one and put one in, and then I'm going to deal with it on the back end. I'm not going to take and have a customer wait and not be able to use their firearm, just because there's a bad part that a manufacturer had. I do know that our manufacturers will, 99% of the time make it right, unless it wasn't an issue where the customer did something stupid. But most of the time we can tell those sorts of things right away. So it's not really one particular big story. It's just a whole bunch of little ones that just all add up to, in the end, customers being happy and telling their friends. And just really, it even goes deeper than that for us. It's really not about business in the end. It's just about doing the right thing and just making sure people are taken care of. Now that being said, we do definitely flip to the other side of the coin of, hey, if we've had customers come in, and I'm sure you see this, where, hey, they're being a little deceptive. It's they did something stupid and they're not taking responsibility for it, and they're trying to pull one over. Well, we have no issues standing up to those types of folks and just let them know that, hey, we know what really happened. Let's be honest about it, and let's figure out how to get it fixed. And if they want to stick with their story and just continue that, then we fired customers before too. Not every customer is ours to have. We're okay with that. We're completely secure in that, because we know who we are. We know how we operate. We know what level of integrity we bring to the table. And we do expect something similar for those we deal with, or, we'll just choose not to deal with them again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all about setting expectations. And I think, you touched on something else across my firearms buying experiences. So for me, the genesis was I hunted as a younger guy, teenage years, young adult life, met my wife. She wasn't all that comfortable with firearms in the house. And truth be told, my career was going like this, and I didn't really have a lot of time. So I sold them off. It's been years. And in the last 3 years, we've added firearms back into the house, into our life. And in all of those purchases, what you said about how you take it down, how you oil it, how you work with it, ask the questions. Do you know how to use this? Do you know where it's going to break? Do you know where the problems are? Do you know how to shoot this? Like, those are things I didn't experience across 8 prior purchases, I guess, in the last few years, across multiple places. So that's that's a real good testament to the experience you're putting out there.
Yeah, you try. I mean, we really try to, and I'm sure you do this with your business too, but really not look through it in the eyes of what do we want to make easy or how would we do it for us, but we want to try to make it look at it like, hey, if I were a customer and set foot in that store, what would I want? What would make me happy, or what would make me feel at ease? In our industry, there's such a growth and so many new shooters coming in and people coming into the fact that needing that, thinking, hey, you know what? I never thought I'd need a firearm, or even to the point of maybe with my political views, I thought I couldn't, or whatever the reason was. But 60, 70% of the customers we're seeing now have never owned a firearm before, have never had any desire to. But after some of the stuff that went on in Chicagoland area, they're really feeling the need to the point
Right.
of, they released the numbers for 2021. This wasn't even 2020, so this wasn't even the COVID stuff. This was the aftermath in 2021 of guns sold in the United States. And the state of Illinois, despite the fact that we're a communist state and have some of the strictest gun laws, we sold 8.8 million guns in 2021. Now,
That's incredible.
Now, to put it in perspective, the next closest state, number 2, was the state of Texas, which of course is much bigger and much more conservative, and they sold 1.9 million. The third state was Indiana, which a good portion of the population is near Chicago and in Northwest Indiana. They were at 1.8 million. So it's just amazing the fact that, a very, 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 very blue leaning state, which with the strictest gun laws, now their population is starting to question things and really starting to think. So it's just interesting,
So I'm a newish minted citizen here in the United States. I was born in Canada, lived here since the age of 10, became a citizen in September of 2019. I carry a pocket Constitution every day with me in my bag when I travel. You've talked often on your podcast, again, Tactical Entrepreneur, not just about firearms, really great podcast that you should tune into, but you talk often about your belief in the Second Amendment. Share here. Why is that so important to you beyond the business?
Well, yeah, I mean, beyond the business, and I'll say this will actually extend far past just the Second Amendment into the whole. We'll take it into the whole Constitution. It really goes down to the single word for me of freedom, and just people being able to free to choose. You go into a lot of the things that are going on today in this country, and it's trying to strip people's liberties. It's trying to strip people's ability to choose. If something you're doing is not directly hurting someone else, you should be able to do it. That goes for, if you want to own a gun, great. If you don't, that's fine too. If you want to own 100 guns, great. 0 is just a fine number too. But let's look at it holistically. And if it's something that if people are against guns, that's okay. But they have the right to, and they have the right to change your mind at any given time. That goes with the whole freedom of speech. That goes with freedom of the press, search and seizure, all those. And it just comes down to the fact that our Constitution gives us certain freedoms, and yet some people think that they can just be taken away with the stroke of a pen or an idea, or just because you don't like them. I might not like something that a particular news station has to say, but they have the right to say it, and I'm more than happy that they do. So I think for me, it's just well beyond the second. It just goes to all of the amendments and our ability as Americans just to be free and make choices for ourselves and not have someone else's opinion or agenda, just shoved down our throat. You go into the whole, whether mask or vaccine or any of those things. Hey, I'm where I stand on them really doesn't matter. What I care about is that you have the right as a person to choose, and I support that. everybody should be able to pick and choose when they want. It's like, I'm fine with vaccines. I'm fine with masks. When I have an issue is when they try to, especially on the vaccine side, try to mandate people to take it just to do normal things like go to a restaurant or, ride the subway or whatever it is. To me, that's just too far. It cuts into our freedom. And we have to remember, just as Americans, we're only a generation away from communism. You think about it, freedoms can be stripped really, really, really fast. And we all just need to remember that and just, protect the freedoms of others, even if they don't necessarily matter to us or we don't agree,
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Yep, 100% agree with you. When I, and we can, we don't need to make this a constitutional show, but we certainly are in agreement on a lot of things. When I read through, especially the first 10 amendments, what I see is the blending of people who strive for personal liberty, personal freedom, with the respect of governance and the need that governance needs to be there over the land. Like, we can't just live without structure. We can't just live without the governance that was laid out in the original framing. And when you read those first 10 amendments, if you look at it through that lens, to me, it just makes a ton of sense. And that's why, like you, I'm so ardent, so steadfast in keeping those freedoms in place. And anything that looks like it might push us off that precipice and down a slippery slope, I can't support. I can't get behind.
Amen.
Yeah.
And also the one thing people gloss over or overlook or maybe don't even know is the fact that the men that got together and wrote that document and signed that document, they didn't like each other very much. They had all kinds of different views. But what they did realize is that there are certain things that we should all agree on and certain things that we should stand behind, and we should protect our ability to disagree and the rights to do that. And the fact that the country is what it is today is because they chose to do that. They chose to put their differences aside, and they chose to, realize that we're better off together than we are apart. I would argue that if you would sit down the most conservative you can find and the most liberal, that they'd agree on 90 or 95% of things. It's just that 5 or 10% that people focus on now, instead of the 80 or 90 or 95 that we all agree on. Let's just focus on what we agree on rather than what we don't. But I guess that just doesn't make news, huh?
Yeah, it doesn't get the clicks. It doesn't get the headlines. It doesn't fill the 8 o'clock primetime spot, unfortunately. You're right. We do as a people have way more to agree on, way more to get behind together, way more to rally around than we don't. That's for sure. So your new store, I love, in Dyer, Indiana. Walk us through that process of building that store, because one of the things that I like to talk with the folks that I work with is the customer experience, right? Like it's a cliched statement, but Disneyfying everything at every point. And we've already talked about some ways that you do that, but share with people listening, like, what you did versus what the industry does to make that store amazing. And I know your opening weekend was fantastic because we messaged back and forth about that, but walk us through what it was like building that customer experience at your new location.
Absolutely. So Dyer, we kind of refer to and jokingly as Sheepdog 2.0. And so when we opened the store in Moni, in the Illinois store, we knew we wanted to make it different. We knew we wanted to not necessarily do things the way other people do. We knew we wanted to look at things from the customer standpoint. So when you look at a typical gun shop, and I would argue that it's probably the same anywhere you go in the United States, you typically see three things. The one thing you often see is dark color paneling on the walls with maybe a few mounted animals or something like that. The other thing you see in almost 100% of gun shops is lines and lines of glass cases. And then the third thing you see in most is a couple grumpy guys behind the counter. So those were really the three things that we were trying to go away with. We wanted to have a bright, welcoming space. Think Apple Store. We actually looked at a lot of different retail establishments in a lot of different industries. And we wanted something bright, welcoming. We wanted something where people could feel welcome to look and touch and, just browse without feeling like, hey, I have to have this interaction with this guy behind the counter to do so. I we wanted to do away also with the whole counter feel. Like, when you go to places that there's a counter, you often get the feeling that whether the people are nice or not, it doesn't make a difference, or how they treat you. It's just, okay, they're behind the counter, so
There's a
that
barrier.
they're on one side, we're on this side. We wanted to do away with that.
Yeah.
So many of the other industries that like I'm sure your store, for example, you have when you're standing next to someone talking to them, it's a far different experience than when you're talking across a table or across a counter. So we knew that we had to do away with that also. And then the other thing was, of course, we wanted to make sure that our staff were welcoming of everybody. It's right in our core values. We are welcoming. Whether you have never touched a firearm, whether you're a seasoned pro, regardless of your sex, race, creed, religion, sexual preference, none of that. It makes zero difference. As long as you don't come in saying that guns should be banned, you're going to have a great shopping experience. So we really wanted to look at, hey, as a customer, let's not take anything off the table. Let's find solutions as opposed to just, opening up a gun shop like every other gun shop. So what we found is that the counters were indeed some of the things that were people were not happy with, or not getting the feel we wanted. So we designed a store without counters. There's not a single counter in there. All of the registers where people check out are all integrated with the displays. All the handguns are displayed on basically floating credenzas, if you will, that are about 4 feet by 8 feet. And they have, three sides of that are the displays. One side is a register. So we have 4 registers that are split without. So people could come up, walk up to and touch guns, as many as they want. If they want to touch 2 or 3, they touch 2 or 3. If they want to touch, all 150 we have on display of handguns, touch all 150. But we wanted to make it so that they could put things in their hands and make sure that they can feel comfortable without having to pick things out of a glass case saying, can I touch that one? Can I touch that one? Because the experience they were having was in a normal gun shop is you can usually touch 2 or 3 or maybe 4 things before the salesperson gets like, okay, are we done yet? And even if they don't say anything, even if they're nice, I would get the feeling, just for me, like, I don't want to inconvenience them, or if there's lines, of customers waiting to look at things, same thing. So we wanted to make it so that they can walk up to guns and touch as many as they want. That's something we started in the Moni store, but we took it to the next level. In Moni, it was actually in a cage, like a dog kennel, to play off the sheepdog name. And then beyond that, we also wanted to make sure that things were set up logically. There was plenty of room to walk around, that people were greeted. So we really wanted to make it like the gun shop. We took a lot of cues from like Apple stores, and even like other big retail, like even like a Best Buy, with the integration of the checkouts, in the different areas. And it's just taken off like crazy. It was fantastic. I mean, it's the reception of it has been insane. So we actually have a lot of followers on one of our pages, because we do a lot of online sales, and we have a custom rifle manufacturing company that also does stuff online. So we have a ton of following, like on social media, that are not close enough to come shop at our stores, but the feedback of it has just been just amazingly positive. Just like, whoa, I wish one of these was near me. I wish we had something like that. And it's funny, because a lot of people in the industry are pretty negative about what we're doing. It's kind of interesting, is people don't like disruption. They don't like things being done differently.
So what? So that just mystifies me. Let me step back, and then I want to ask the question why they find it like odd or disruptive, or what they take. But you touched on the barriers, the glass cases. Just to circle back to our point politically, like, it's not surprising to me that you, with your beliefs that you just espoused, got rid of the barriers, got rid of the glass cases, because you do want to bring people together right there in your business, which I think is great. I mean, again, I like to kind of put little seeds out for anybody listening, watching. If you do trade shows, don't put the table out in front. Put it at the back of your space, for crying out loud. I mean, you want to talk about a barrier. that's just like that's a 2 foot by 6 foot table for people to just walk right by you.
Yep.
Like put it at the back of your space. One of the easiest things you could do. But I love that you got rid of all the barriers. I love that you welcome everybody in. I love what you're doing. Those feelings you shared about the salesperson getting a little itchy, a little twitchy about showing 2 or 3 different pieces. I've experienced most every time I've shopped. Yeah, you're spot on. So what is it that people find negative about what you're doing in your industry? Because I think it's fantastic and I'm a customer.
I don't really know. It just really seems like the industry as a whole, most of the say, even say 80-90% of the shops are just so rooted in the way they used to do things that they're not willing to even embrace change. They're not willing to even consider it. So I don't know what that's coming from. I think a lot of it might be is just a lot of them have been around for a real long time. And they just think that, there's only one way to do things. I mean, they'll come up with some objections and they're just complete non-relevant. Like, for example, our handguns are all tethered, so there's a security system in place that tethers them to a locking
Yeah,
bar.
I wanted you to clarify how you're
Yeah.
doing that for those
Yep.
listening. So
the handguns are all, because handguns can obviously walk away a little bit easier, and they're more towards the front of our store, are all tethered. So they're all tethered with a locking system we had a company come up with, and makes it easy enough for us to take them down if they sell, but also secure enough to slow down a thief. At the end of the day, in the picture that was actually as we were putting together, you can see the locking bars in place, but most of the handguns don't have the tethers yet. But you can see those bars, the black bars going across.
Mm-hmm.
Those actually accept a lock that actually tethers the a steel cable to the firearm. That's kind of pulls out and expands, so people can get it about maybe 3 feet away from there, so they can present the firearm. They can see what the sights look like. They can do a good examination of it, but yet it won't walk away as easily. At the end of the day, if people realize if a skilled person wants to steal something, they could probably find a way to do it. We have a lot of other security measures in place that make it really difficult for them to do it and make it out the front door. But they're so worried. A lot of places, well, they can't be safe if they're in a glass case. It's like, well, you don't realize, how easy is it for me to, okay, you can even say in a perfect world, you're only going to deal with one customer at a time, and then if you go like jewelry store and okay, one gun out of there, then maybe. But boy, you know what? You turn your head for a second, even when it's in his hands, that guy can run right out the front door with zero resistance. Whereas, there would be some cutting and some other things necessary for someone to do it at our store. But and the way our staff positions themselves, the way we're set up, we have never had a firearm loss from theft in our four years of business. There's not a lot of shops that can say that for any length of time. I mean, it happens. But we're doing everything we can. We're just doing it in our way. So we get people say, "Oh, well, you don't care about your guns getting stolen." No, it's not that. It's just we're just not willing to settle into a glass case is the only way. And then you get into at night too. You get into the people that'll leave those in the glass case. How long does it take to smash a piece of glass and grab stuff? Not long at all. Ours would be a little bit more difficult. There would be some time spent on each firearm getting that steel cable cut and getting the other apparatus removed, and it would take them some time. My argument would be that it would be far easier to steal from an establishment that has a glass case, but it's just little arguments like that they're just saying that it's irresponsible, it's not doing it right. Well, no, I mean we care more about security, and actually our background, most of us we've been in security for years. I mean, it's one of our previous businesses that we had for a number of years was doing cameras and all kinds of different burglar alarms, fire alarms, and stuff, mainly for cash counting facilities and for other facilities that were really high risk. So we do have just a touch of experience. So, but we're just not going to settle, and we're not just going to fall into, hey, this is how things are done. We're willing to disrupt. We're willing to take some chances and put ourselves out there. And if we do something that doesn't work, we'll pivot and we'll figure something else out. But we want to push evolution in the industry as opposed to status quo.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've listening to your podcast, I've gotten to know that that is your MO, is delivering that elevated experience, giving people the opportunity to experience the product in a different way that, and most importantly, makes them comfortable. I mean, really what we're talking about here is the established policy is guns go in cases. So the policy dictates the experience. Whereas you're approaching it from the question of what better experience can I give? And let's have, on the answer of that, let's have the security policy satisfy that new answer to a better experience, right? That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's figure out a way and actually put some effort into making our customer experience better, as opposed to just accepting what always is. I mean, at that point, if you're just going to do what the guys next door are doing and not put any more effort, what are you going to lower your prices so that you can go out of business faster, or there's nothing you're going to do different if you're not just willing to question everything. We see it in all kinds of interesting. Even like look at the car industry. Look at the disruption companies like Carvana are causing the car industry. CarMax was kind of the first to do things a little bit different with the buying experience. And then Carvana kind of took it to the next level. And, there's others doing it too, but the whole online thing. And then what you're seeing is, so from Carvana doing it, now if you're looking at like GM or Ford or any of their website, they all have some sort of thing that's offering, hey, shop at home or handle most of the purchase at home. And you know what? Because customers like it. So, but it took someone to push the envelope and take a chance and to create a different way to see if it's what people actually do like, and then prove it out. And now the whole industry is changing because of it, for the better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't even have to go as extreme as cars and vending machines like Carvana. You could just say, I'm going to do right by the customer no matter where they live, like our friend Scott in Apex with his car dealerships. I mean, it seems like every week he's shipping a $60,000-$70,000 truck to somebody in our group. Like he is taking so much local business off because locally our friends in Apex are saying, you know what, I want to do business with people that I know personally, but that also I know are going to give me an incredible experience.
You nailed it. And having we've actually bought we just bought one T-Rex from Scott, and then I have another one that I ordered that's coming in next month. And him and his GMs, they get it. They have made it easy. So the first thing they asked me, I've dealt with Ben, which is his general manager of this Dodge dealership. The first thing Ben asked me is, hey, when's a good time to communicate with you, and how do you like to communicate? So that's hey,
very smart.
You've got to call, you've got to think, hey, let's meet where you are and let's figure out how the best we can do to get this thing done. I provided him some information, built the truck online, sent him a document. He said, okay, well, hey, here it is. This is realistically when you can expect to see it. Here's your price. Here's how the delivery works. And we were off and running. It was the easiest. I bought a lot of cars in my time. I'm a kind of a car guy. That's kind of one of my vices. And it was the easiest car I've ever bought. And it was nothing like buying a car. I cringe. I love new cars, but I hate buying them just because it's just like pulling teeth. Like literally, I'll go to the dentist over walking into a car dealership from some of the experiences I've had. And even when you'll lay things out there, you'll lay things out there right here. It's like, I'll walk in and say, hey, here's the car I'm looking at. This is exactly what I want to buy. I don't need to test drive it. I've ridden in friends. I've driven friends. Can you get it? Do you have one? Can you deal or trade for one? What's the price? And how quickly can we get moving? And then they'll try to go back to their normal sales process that they know. I said, well, here, I got the keys for this one. Let's go take a look. No, you're wasting my time now at this point, and I'm ready to spend money and you're not letting me, let's listen to the customer,
Yeah. There should always, in the vein of cars, there should always be an off ramp for a customer that presents just as you did in that example, right? Like, so again, so many companies, they almost like want to die on the sword of policy and procedure because you touched on it earlier where it put a thought in my mind of, we need to remember we're not our customer. Our customer, as you said earlier in the show, they come in eyes wide open, maybe a little scared, maybe a little defensive, maybe a little fearful because they're in an uncomfortable position. Like you said, the last few years' events have changed their perspective. They don't want to go out and be like Rambo. Well, that's Rocky in that picture. But anyway, they don't want to go out and be like Rambo. They just want to protect themselves. But they're coming in a little different way. So if you got those, typical gun shop, old school, old hat guys, they're just going to scare that person away. And then it's going to perpetuate, oh yeah, all these new gun owners, they're just a waste of time. Well, no, they're really not. They're people that want to spend money in our establishment, and whatever marketing, whatever advertising we did got them here. So let's respect that, right? I think it's so important for people to listen and meet, and you said it, meet the customer where they're at. I think is so important.
Absolutely. That listening portion, you just nailed it right there. Just listening to the customer and what they want. And, and if they're not, don't come in talking about what they want, knowing some pointed questions to ask them, like the first thing we do when we have someone come in and we say, hey, how are you doing today? What brings you in? We're glad you're here. What brought you to us today? Said, hey, I want to look at guns. Said, okay, well, I mean, do you know what you're looking for? Have you purchased any firearms before? Or are you just looking for a first one? Or, and just let me know a little bit about where you're at. And then they will do that. And then from there, the next question we'll ask is, hey, what's the purpose of this particular firearm? We believe that you should buy 10 million of them, but for this particular one we're looking for today, what's the purpose? And then they'll say, hey, it's my first gun. I don't know. I want to learn how to shoot with it. And say, okay, well then we'll point them in the direction of something a little larger that shoots a little softer and is a little bit easier to learn on. They say, well, no, I've got a couple guns and I just got getting my concealed carry permit. I want something I can easily conceal. All right, that's a different gun. And then from there, and they're going to ask to say, hey, you know what? Sometimes they'll come in and say, my buddy that knows everything about guns told me that I need to buy a SIG or a Glock or a Smith. And I'll say, well, you know what? Your buddy does not know what's best for you. Oh, really? Well, what should I buy then? I said, well, you should buy what's comfortable for you and what's within your budget. So the first thing we're going to do is, after we figure out what the purpose of it is, let me show you 6 or 8 of the most popular ones in that, and I want you to pick some guns up. What people don't realize is that much like different brands of cars, say, have different seats, they're all kind of like, you can buy a Chevy and it may be a Blazer, it may be a truck, but some of the things are going to be similar. The same thing's true with guns. You'll have grip angle. So the grip angle of a Glock will be a little bit different than a grip angle of a SIG or a grip angle of a Springfield. And usually you'll find one more comfortable than another. So we'll take them through and say, okay, well, you're more comfortable with, say, a SIG. All right, well, here's the options of the SIG that are all kind of feel the same. And here's the advantages or disadvantages of each one. And then we'll walk them through the purchase instead of saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, this one's on sale this week. Or, yeah, this is the one I carry, so this is the only gun you should buy, or any of those sorts of things. It's not like that. It's more of a self-driven process. And at the end of it, people feel really good, because the last thing I want somebody to do is come in and buy a gun, get it home, and then take it, shoot it a couple times, and have it be completely uncomfortable. Because if it's not comfortable when they first pick it up, it's not going to be comfortable to shoot. And in the end, from a self-defense standpoint, if they ever have to pick up that gun to defend themselves, they are not going to be comfortable, and it may cost them their life.
Yeah. Well, and there's 3 words that sum up what you just shared in the last couple of minutes. But to the point about a firearms owner not being comfortable with the firearm, I mean, the more statistically correct situation is they're just not going to be comfortable firing that gun at the range. They're going to be not comfortable handling it. And they're just going to set it down and not use it. I mean, that, statistically speaking, as opposed to a self-defense scenario, that's the more highly probable scenario, right? They're just not going to use it. And then there's dissatisfaction with Sheepdog or with wherever they bought it from. But the 3 words to sum up all you said in your process to help find the fit diagnose in my world, 3 words: tell me why. Mm-hmm. Tell me why we're shopping for a new mattress. Tell me why we're adding another firearm to the collection. Tell me why your friend recommends this. Like for me, a little personal anecdote, you'll like this. So this right hand's been busted up so many times over the years. And I want to add a SIG to the collection. I don't have one. But I'm glad I shot one the other day at the range because they have loaners. The grip angle, I can't stand. I do not feel comfortable shooting it. It just doesn't work for me. But had I not gone through that process, and immediately all the guys behind the counter were like, oh yeah, this is what you have to have. Okay, well, look, we'll try it, but it just didn't work. And had I not been paying attention to that, I might have bought one and then been upset at their recommendation. Mm-hmm. But tell me why those 3 words are so powerful and really can work for anybody watching, anybody listening can take those 3 words, take that process that Steve laid out, mold it for your business and put it into place. You will have happier customers. So you said you want customers to purchase 10 million guns. So your frequent buyer card, is it like the size of a sheet of plywood?
We stack them up. We just stack them up. They'll have a couple.
I love it. So as we get to the top of the hour, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for Sheepdog?
We're really not sure. We see some exponential growth happening. We're already picking out a couple locations. We're going to have a couple more locations in Illinois. We're in some talks with some folks of taking this concept nationwide. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see what's meant to be with it. It's what's really for me as an entrepreneur, what I'm trying to build is trying to build something that's going to, run on its own. While I love interacting with customers and some of those sorts of things, I definitely have the vision for helping other businesses do what we did. So the Tactical Entrepreneur actually will soon be opening up a consulting portion where my partners will be going out to help some other businesses out there, help them do what we did at Sheepdog. And that's what people don't realize is business is business. And I know you could say the same thing of, hey, if you know what you know, you can go into any industry, and if you do it right, you can dominate. There's very little difference. Retail is retail. I'll say you'll break it down. Retail is retail. I know you would also say that, but you'd say that, hey, you know what? If I want to branch into something else, being in the mattress business, it's so much similar to so many other things, and it's really just a matter of getting that customer experience in line, making sure all your systems and processes are the same, using technology to your advantage, and then rinse and repeat.
Yep. Yeah. Well, very good. Well, listen, I really enjoyed our conversation. On that note, just as Steve has bought trucks from our friend Scott, if you're so inclined to purchase something from Steve, you can reach out to sheepdogfirearms.com. I can say I am from a far customer, a very happy customer. Just as a little side note, I cleaned, took me a little while to get out and shoot the AR pistol you made for me, but I got it out a few weeks back, shot it again, and then cleaned it. And I'm going to tell you, the quality of what you put together is just astounding to me for what I paid. Especially compared to other rifles that I paid for on the same platform. But I unequivocally can give Sheepdog and Steve and his team a glowing endorsement. They'll walk you through the process, and you can, if you need to buy ammo, they can help you with that. They can help you with firearms. Goes without saying he's going to do everything, dot every I and cross every T, of course. But you certainly can buy something from afar, and I can't recommend Steve and his team enough.
Thanks so much, Jeff. And yeah, by all means, if you reach out, please be sure to reference that you saw me on the Big Ticket Life podcast with Jeff. If you send an email to that info@sheepdogfirearms.com, and we'll be certainly to take extra special care of you. Yeah,
cool. Very cool. Steve, it's been a pleasure. Welcome back. I look forward to seeing you later this week. I'll have a fresh t-shirt for you in your size, and can't wait to hang out this Friday with you and all the other amazing people at Apex. And thanks again for joining me. It was a really good
thanks
show.
Again for having me, Jeff. Look forward to seeing where the future takes you in Big Ticket Life and all those sorts of things. But thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Been a great conversation.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week, people. Take care. if you're going to live a big ticket life and do business in life on your terms, you got to do big things. It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today. And so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms.